Hi, I'm Antonia, and I am the host of the Working Moms Playbook. Here, real moms share real stories, building businesses while battling infertility, hitting breastfeeding goals without sacrificing their careers, finding their style as new moms, and so much more. And it's just season 1. Let's jump in because let's face it, moms don't have time to waste. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Working Moms Playbook. I'm your host, Antonia. Today, I am so excited. We are in for such a special treat. We are going to be diving into a topic with Allison Evans, who is my guest today. She is the co-founder of Branch Basics, and we are going to be talking about pretty much everything healthier home for our families, from cleaners and beyond. I first met Allison almost 2 years ago, and you totally opened.
I think it was almost 2.
Yeah, and you totally opened my eyes. Like, I thought my eyes were opened, and then you totally opened them even wider. And to this day, I tell people your story that you had told me during the interview, because I just link everything back. I'm like, oh my God, you're being super forgetful. What if it's linked to this? Or what if something's linked to this?
Right. What symptoms could be coming from what thing? Yeah. How can we better ourselves? You know?
It's crazy. I don't know. You really opened my eyes. So I'm excited to have you on. So welcome.
Yay. Let's open more eyes wider today.
Yes. Well, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to our audience here who might not know your story. Of course, Allison is a mom to 3 now. You have 3? 4. 4. Oh my God, I'm thinking 2 years ago.
I haven't had a baby since we chatted.
I know. So exciting. Was it a boy or a girl?
I had 3 girls, and now I have a boy too.
Oh, now you get to be a boy mom a little bit.
It's the best. It's so good. We're obsessed. We're like, oh wait, now that we discover being boy parents, we have another one. But we're not. No, we're totally done. For the record, everybody hearing me right now. But it's just a whole different world. We're like, oh, I'm so thankful he's brought out this other side of us that we didn't even know existed. He's so precious.
Oh, I know. As a fellow boy mom, I'm just they're so cute.
Oh, it's the sweetest. That you always hear about that mother-son relationship. There really is something special and different.
100%. Well, why don't we dive a little bit? I mean, of course, you're a mom, and we're on the Working Moms Playbook podcast, so that goes hand in hand. But you yourself have a very interesting and honestly inspirational story about what led you to start Branch Basics, which for all of those who are listening who don't know is a super fantastic, very cleaning brand.
I like that. Cleaning. Making clean.
Yep, cleaning. Very sparkling clean. So why don't we go into a little bit on that?
Yeah, for sure. So if you haven't heard of Branch Basics, we do sell non-toxic cleaning products. They do work pretty well. We love them. However, we really are more of a education platform, and that's how we started the company. It was always to spread information, to help open people's eyes, like you said, specifically to identifying toxins and the things that we are putting in, on, and around our bodies, and how to create safe alternatives or to choose better alternatives so that our bodies can heal. Yeah. Because we always said we want to prevent people from one day saying, why didn't somebody tell me this? Because it really is so much more simple than I think we realize.
Yep. You started it because you had your own health journey, and then your Aunt Marilee, right? She had her own journey too.
Yes, exactly. So I guess, right now I'll just kind of go into that, and I'll give as high level as possible of that journey. But I do think that without my story and even sharing some of Marilee's story, why we started the company and why I'm passionate and our mission, really, there's just not context for it. So let's see. Grew up here in Houston, Texas, standard American diet. My mom's, pushing perfume and using fragrances and bath bombs and candles and dryer sheets and soy formula and, all the things that we thought were conventional and wonderful. Yes. And it's no wonder why in high school I have thousands of cysts on my ovaries, because why didn't somebody tell me,
Yeah.
And I was told this was 2000 and this is going to age me. I just turned 40. This was 2002.
Okay.
So I'd had my period at 13, never had another one. Here in Houston, we have access to pretty much the world's finest medical. And so I went to a top endocrinologist here, and he said, this is the worst case of polycystic ovarian syndrome I have ever seen. You'll be on birth control indefinitely. There is nothing you can do about it. I remember asking, because I'm one of those type A, what can I do? How can I be better? Kind of people. And I'll never forget the nurse practitioner looking at me and saying, I can promise you there's nothing you can do. So I just kind of owned it. I owned the diagnosis. I owned the fact that I would be this PCOS person not being able to get pregnant, and took my birth control indefinitely. And as I'm approaching college, I actually met Kelly. We ended up for UT together in Austin. And that's when my body really started to crumble. I started getting symptoms that started as, I'm kind of sore and tight in my upper shoulders, neck. Maybe I was studying the wrong way, sleeping the wrong way. And then went all the way down to my lower back, neurological type symptoms. I remember reaching for a carton of conventional cow's milk back in those days, and it fell to the floor. And by the end of my sophomore year, I am on steroid injections, hydrocodone twice a day. I was on muscle relaxers, antidepressants, sleeping pills. Like I was like a walking drug den.
Oh my God. How old are you again at this point?
So at this point, I am basically 21.
Mm-hmm. That's so young to be going through all of these things.
Yes, exactly. So I, again, just like not questioning anything. I just kept seeing the best of the best in the country, and kept getting more tests and was on more drugs. So my Aunt Marilee comes in the picture, and she explains that we all have this threshold in which we can deal with toxins. And so there's a certain amount of resiliency and strength. And then there's a point where there is spillover. And I was at spillover. So as much as what she was saying did, and I wanted to call her crazy because she had no credentials and no white coat, I also was really attracted to this idea of the fact that I could do something about my symptoms, because this was the first time that anyone had ever given me anything that I could actually do, because everything was about genetics and family history. So it was pretty exciting, on one hand. So I'm, ditching my Splenda, my 100-calorie packs, all
oh my God, the 100-calorie packs.
Right? Yes. And so I immediately started seeing a shift in my symptoms. I was able to cut down on dose of hydrocodone, and I was intrigued because, again, like I never considered anything that I was doing, putting in my body, around my body, on my body, had anything to do with my symptoms. And no one, the smartest people in the room, had never even suggested this. So upon graduation, I can tell that I'm on the right track. I want to go live with Marilee in the hill country of Texas. It's actually, she lives in Hunt, where the floods were this past summer.
Oh, wow.
And Kelly comes with me because she is also intrigued, watching me transform. And that was the summer that changed everything. So we get out to her home, and I will diverge just a little bit and tell you Marilee's story, because again, like her story is everything. So she had two catastrophic events in her life that opened her eyes to the impact that our diet and our environment can have on our health. Okay. One, she's in her 20s. She was always a sickly child, but in her 20s, she had essentially kidney failure. She was told she needed a kidney transplant, dialysis immediately. They did exploratory surgery. And after the surgery, the doctors just said, look, there's no other path. Like, we got to get this kidneys out. We got to get a transplant. And she said something just like welled up inside of her. She was pre-med. She wanted to be a doctor. Like, she had full respect for everyone in the room. But she said, I am so glad that you're not God. I am so glad I'm not subject to what medicine has for me today. What if there is an answer later and we are just not privy to it? And so within a few days, something comes across her path, basically this notion of using food as medicine. She'd never heard about that. She thought she was eating real food her whole life. Turns out she hadn't gone a day in her life eating real food.
Right.
And so she switches to this very strict and specific medicinal diet. In 10 days, all of her kidney numbers are in range, and everything is normal, and she avoids dialysis and a transplant. So she's like, okay, what is this? So she starts learning about using food as medicine, and fast forward to the early 90s. She is now in her 30s, and she has a son, my first cousin, Douglas. He is 10 years old, and he is dropped off at school. She picks him up, and his lips are blue. His lymph nodes are swollen up like BBs.
Oh, goodness.
He is a completely damaged child, essentially. I mean, she looks at him like, what in the world? She had been exposed to a very high level of a now banned pesticide. And so his brain was severely damaged. She took him to, again, these top specialists who said he would never recover. The brain does not regenerate. Of course, now we know about neuroplasticity and the ability to heal. And that same feeling, I am so glad you're not God. I am so glad I'm not privy to what medicine has for me today. My son's brain will fully heal. Again, 90s. Like, she was crazy, And I spent the next 7 years essentially watching him reverse through the autism spectrum, because his symptoms were so severe. He couldn't go inside a building. He was considered a bubble child. And there was this one kind of event that was the pinnacle, kind of the crux of his healing. And it was when she removed this last box from her house that contained all of her perfumes and cleaning products. And she put it away. She wasn't using the stuff. She thought there's no way this is affecting him. But she decided to remove it. And otherwise he wasn't able to stay in the house for like more than 7 to 10 minutes. The next day he goes inside. It had been about 15 minutes. He looks at his mom and he's like, what did you do? I don't feel like I need to leave. I don't feel agitated. Because again, his lymph nodes would swell up. He had to start whispering because he was so sensitive. It sounded like everything was a scream.
Wow.
And so she didn't tell him anything. She thought, he's going to think this is crazy. My husband's going to think this is crazy. But she went down the cleaning aisle the next day and she smelled those bottles and she thought, that box is my son's cleaning aisle. Because I can smell these things. They're shut, they're sealed. They're not used. But when you have someone who is so severely damaged and immunocompromised, that can be enough to set him back and to trigger his symptoms. So he ended up fully recovering. She understood the impact that, even parts per million, billion, trillion level of chemical in his environment was holding him back. So when that was removed, he was the first homeschooled child to be accepted into the U.S. Naval Academy, graduated top of his class.
Wow.
It was an amazing story, and her story really ended up spreading throughout the country, and she was helping people, thousands of people with chemical injuries and sensitivities. So this was the home that I am entering that summer. So when I said it was free of toxins, I mean, there was not one pesticide, synthetic fragrance, nothing. Proper ventilation for a gas stove. I mean, there was no Teflon, like you name it.
Yeah.
And my healing was the same, like warp speed. So by the end of that summer, I am basically symptom free. And went back to that same doctor. This is now 6 years later. I had missed ovaries, or I had like one on one ovary and two on the other. He came running in with my sonograms, comparing the two. And he said, I've never in my life seen anything like this. What did you do? And I told him, I stopped taking birth control. I started eating real food. I got rid of synthetic fragrances. And he's looking at me like, what in the world? So they've since opened a lifestyle arm to his clinic here in Houston. And of course, there's so much more education around this at this point. But it was amazing. I woke up, about a year and a half later, and I had my second natural period of my life. And we joked that we've tried 3 times and had 4 children, no twins. So that's really my story. And we went on to start Branch Basics again to help people understand the power of removal. It's not about adding these expensive treatments and saunas and cleanses and protocols. Like all of those things are good. Biohacking is amazing. Like, let's biologically reverse our age, right? But the first thing is just removing the things in our diet, in our home that are keeping our bodies from healing because they want to heal. And if we have a scab and we wake up every morning and we pick it every single morning, it's never going to heal. But if you leave it alone and just let the body do its thing, it knows how to heal.
And it's such this is not the first story, yours is not the first that I've heard where you really eliminate these things that I feel like in the back of our minds, sometimes we know is like not super great for you, but a lot of society is just like push that you don't even think about it, right? Like you just don't even think about all of the different chemicals and things that are being used, especially you don't think about it in cleaning products because there's this overall arching message that these products might contain chemicals, but the chemicals are killing germs, which are then making you clean. There's such like a misconception. I feel like there might be someone who is very into like clean skincare, right? Or clean beauty, and they pay so much attention to the ingredients in that, but then that mindset doesn't shift over to your cleaning products because of that misconception that like these chemicals are meant to kill the germs and like that is what clean means. And that's the message that you're really changing, I think, on the forefront. And you've made quite a difference. I mean, I had first heard of you during the last time we spoke, but ever since then, let me tell you, all the mom groups I'm a part of, whether they're like non-toxic mom groups or regular mom groups, people will ask like, oh, cleaning products, something about cleaning products or something about like laundry for cloth diapers. Other people are commenting Branch Basics. Like they're recommending your brand, which
I love that.
It's so cool to see just because like we've spoken and I know your story, but it's also, it shows the difference that you're making.
Yes, that makes me so happy. That's what we always say. We want Branch Basics to be a household name, not because, sure, we need to run a business. We have employees to pay and like that's always great. Like we're not being dumb here and naive, but we wanted to be a household name because really our product is kind of a Trojan horse, but like in the best of ways because we get in the door and then you start thinking about other things that you can replace and you follow us on Instagram or you have, reading our blog or our newsletter or you're signing up for our Toxins course. Like it's an entire lifestyle, then it becomes like a sixth sense. It's not hard anymore. People say like, gosh, is it exhausting, or, and we can kind of get down. I'm sure we'll kind of get to this in a little bit. To me, it's just an opportunity. It's not an overwhelm. And I do the best I can. And when I can't do the best, I let it go. Because honestly, the fear around chemicals and trying to be a perfectionist can sometimes be more toxic than the thing you're trying to avoid.
Right. And I think that's an important message to have as well, because you can get so lost in everything.
Yes.
That it then becomes so overwhelming that you actually don't know where to start.
Correct.
So then with that in mind, for those moms listening who have gone down that rabbit hole by all the quote unquote green or quote unquote non-toxic marketing, where would you say is really the best place to start?
Yeah. Removal. Like really, and I say this to people all the time, I love sending out free product. If you run into me anywhere, if you're my Uber driver, if you're sitting next to me at a restaurant, if I'm waiting in a carpool line, if I'm at ballet class, anywhere I am going to talk about Brave Basics and, just kind of like get that out of you in a intrusive way. It sounds like I'm bombarding people. I'm really not. But the point is I love sending starter kits. I love people trying our product. I love the feedback that we get. But what I always say is don't just receive our product or buy our product or gift our product and sit it next to another toxic product, because it's not going to have the same impact. I would rather you never use Branch Basics and use vinegar and lemon and alcohol, all these other DIY things that actually work to clean your home because they were used for hundreds and hundreds of years and they're very effective. Castile soap, right? Than to use Branch Basics and think you're just being healthy because you've added something. I think true health is about removing the things that our body uniquely does not need and adding the things that it uniquely does need. If we had deficiencies, it would be awesome to get some blood work and work with a, practitioner. But I think in the end, we would be shocked at how we don't even need to go get the testing when we start swapping and using products that are closer to how our bodies were designed by God. Like soaps and real food and real fragrances from essential oils that are extracted like biblical times, right? It's not that all these things are bad. It's just that man has come in and with convenience and kind of this microwave culture mindset, we want to make everything synthetic. Yeah. And kind of our version of everything. So I would say removing the obstacles first and then start thinking about up leveling and adding.
Yeah, that's where we are right now, the microwave stage. We're trying to figure out, we want to get rid of it, but we're trying to figure out what we're going to use to replace it. That's maybe a little bit more convenient than the oven, but not the radiation of the microwave.
Yes.
It's a lot of different kind of research and realization.
A double steamer. I steam everything. I literally just preheated something from 3 days ago for my son, and that's my microwave. I literally keep a double broiler on the stovetop. So I've got an always pan, basically like a steamer basket, And I just put stuff in there and I'll wash it at the end of the day, but it's a little bit longer than a microwave.
Yeah. We were looking at, steamer ovens. I know we're totally getting off topic.
Yeah.
But we were looking at the steamer ovens because it was just it's just easy. It'll just be in the same place.
And I like the Instant Pot, but that does take a minute to heat up. Sometimes you just gotta crank that stove on, especially if you have one of those Instant Hot heaters at your sink. I'm that's the life, right?
All these cool things. Well, then what would you say are, you've gone through so many products and testing and, you clearly have created the formula that is behind Branch Basics, but then there's also a lot of quote unquote clean companies out there that perhaps are not so clean. And I remember we highlighted a few the last time we spoke, but what would you say are some of those really surprising or hidden toxins that you found in not only everyday products, but some of those clean product companies that you think that everyone should really be aware of?
Yeah. I think we never name names. So I think the thing that I would like to convey here in answering this question is just to turn every bottle around and look at the ingredients, because it is the Wild West when it comes to marketing. Non-toxic is not regulated. The cleaning product industry, as a whole is really unregulated. Yeah. We don't have to list our ingredients. So if you ever find a cleaning product and there's no ingredients, it needs to be trashed. But even within even within skincare, it's so easy for the colors that are being used, or maybe there's a woman sweeping. It looks like a grandma on the front of a bottle. So then you think that maybe that's healthy. But when you turn it around, if you see the word fragrance, that's the F word, and it should not be used in your home.
Get it out. Parfum, you said, right? Parfum and fragrance.
Parfum and fragrance. Exactly. Yeah. Same thing. And there's essentially not a synthetic fragrance that is going to be clean enough for us to use. And almost all fragrances have 100% absorption rate by the body, by the skin. And so they're going to go into our bloodstream. What we use is coursing through our veins. And so there's a big power of the purse there, and just we can't control what we're exposed to outside of our homes, but then once we come in, that's where we have to control. So EWG Skin Deep database is excellent. Here's kind of a spin on it. Most people would say just put the product name in the search bar and it'll be rated, 1 through 10 if you want to have the lowest number. Yeah. At Branch Basics, we don't really go by that. What we say is each ingredient really needs to be scored. Okay. Because if you have like a 7 or an 8, but then everything else is like zeros and ones, then it can end up giving you a pretty low score. So that's good, right? But the study of epigenetics shows that even a small amount of a toxic ingredient has the ability to turn on and off genetic expression. So here's the good news. There are so many clean, amazing alternatives out there. There is really no need for us anymore to sacrifice and to fudge, especially when it comes to our everyday products. So we have a whole list on our website. I think it's called Personal Care. If you just search personal care products on Branch Basics or even Google Personal Care Branch Basics, it'll pop up. And it's all of our favorite makeups and hairsprays and nail polishes and shampoos and lotions and, we go on and on and on. But what we do is we start with the very last ingredient when we're vetting a product, and we put that into the search bar. And if that's above a 3 or above, it's not approved by us. So we basically have found all the clean products that rate 1 and 2. And once you find your favorite mascara and your favorite dish soap and your favorite hairspray, like the search is kind of over, Yeah. And there's great makeup brands as well. Like there's so many companies doing it right, that to me, there's really not an excuse anymore for the everyday items.
Yeah. My only thing that I think I've had struggle wise when I'm trying to convey this kind of messaging to friends and family members who ask, right? 'Cause I'm not trying to give unsolicited information, but if they're asking what am I using or what does that really look like in the cleaning space? It's the fact that sometimes, or more often than not, I feel like the clean, non-toxic world can be sometimes inaccessible budget-wise to some people. And, you're not walking into the dollar store and finding non-toxic items, which is a whole other discussion at hand here too, because it makes it so that not everyone who wants to really go down that path can actually do it.
Yeah.
What would you?
That's where I would argue then don't even buy. I mean, truly, I'm not just saying this. Lemon, vinegar that you can, and alcohol, rubbing alcohol or alcohol that you're going to drink. That's disinfectant, cleaning, basically a surfactant, buying a mild soap concentrate like a Dr. Bronner's. A Branch Basics, these things can be expensive, but I'm sure there are co-ops that you can find them cheaper. But the thing too, even with Branch Basics, you look at it and there's initial sticker shock, but because it's a concentrate dilution model and you're only buying the spray bottles one time and then you're filling it using the concentrates, you're never rebuying a new bottle. Yeah. It's really economical. And it comes down to $3 per spray bottle, which is so comparable, right? And then when you start throwing in all the health benefits of using products that are clean, and sorry, but it's true. All the missed school days and work days and doctors and supplements and medication, these things do add up. And allergies, asthma, all of these types of things are connected to our everyday products. So that's where I say stretch it. If we say use this much soap to this much water, use even less soap. You can stretch the concentrate so that you can get every drop out of that bottle, and a little bit goes such a long way. Again, not selling my product, but just knowing that there are so many safe alternatives out there that don't require us to really ever buy conventional cleaners.
Right. It can be, I think that's a great answer, because you really look at it and it's just if you are spending a ton of money on prescriptions, you're home all the time because the kids are sick, you're not getting to enjoy life because you're feeling sick. It's at what cost does that then become acceptable in your brain to make that investment? Because at the same time, you can I think about it all the time. I'll like spend money on something and I'm like, that was like the other thing that I just told myself I couldn't afford and I just swiped my card.
Totally.
Without even
Totally.
thinking.
Eating out. Oh my gosh, if I could just take away all the money that we last minute decide to go out as a family, I told my husband, I'm like, we probably could have taken the kids to Europe by now.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We keep saying we can't afford it, but if we keep eating out.
I know, because you eat out for something quick and before you know it, it's like, I mean, you have a family of 6. So
right. Totally.
it's always like an investment in itself.
Adds up.
Yeah. So then now that you have 4 kids, and how old's your oldest?
I have 8, 6, 3, and 1.
Okay, so like the 3-year-old and the 1-year-old probably don't quite get it yet. The 3-year-old might grasp it a little bit.
Yeah.
But your older 2, how are you talking to your kids about health and cleaning and the why behind your family choices, especially when, you know, they're probably going to have friends and family, friends and family really, that make other choices. Yeah. How do you talk to them about that?
Yeah, I mean, number one, I always say that we never judge other people. We never want to make people feel bad. I never label any other food or product or anything as bad. Okay. That is like never a word that I would use. I would just say our family makes different choices. And I mean, we are a family of faith. And so I usually do bring God into the picture and just say, listen, these are not even our bodies. Like we have to steward our bodies. We have to treat our bodies well. We only get one body, if we're a person of faith or not, but just helping the kids really own that we have to keep our body clean, just like we have to keep our house clean.
Yeah.
And it needs to run on very good fuel because we're so valuable. And so why would we put things in our body or use things around our home that we're smelling and putting into our lungs and putting into our bellies and putting on our skin that is not worthy of such a precious thing, you know? And I always say, like, God made real food and we're real people and we need real fuel. And so sometimes we'll smell a smell like at a restaurant bathroom and I'm like, I don't know. Do you think this is a real smell? Or do you think it's like something that man made? Or do you think that it's something that God made? Is it from nature? Or is it from man? And I'm like, man's never perfect. I kind of explain it like this too. We're always trying to find an easy way or a cheap way, and that's never gotten us anywhere. That usually ends up, you know, we're feeling sick. And I said, sadly, a lot of people that use these products, they have the sniffles or they get headaches or they have allergies or asthma. And I always tell my kids, like, thankfully we don't really deal with any of those things. And I always say, gosh, like, wouldn't it be great if everyone could know the things that we know because we didn't used to know these things. So I'm so thankful we did. I go, my whole life when I was your age, I never knew any of this stuff because your grandmother, she didn't know. And so now that we know, we have that information. It's amazing that we can treat our bodies in this way and that we don't have to get sick as often. Like when I was growing up, I didn't feel very well a lot of the time. And now you don't ever have to really experience that, you know? So you never really have to go to the doctor because you've never really been sick to have to go to a doctor. I used to get all these shots. I used to have all this medication. You know, my kids are like, what? I mean, they really aren't familiar with that life, you know? And so I have them own it too. Like we go to the store and now my older ones are reading. So I'll say, okay, let's flip this around and let's try to find, like, is there the word fragrance on there? Oh, I spy it. Do you see it yet? You know?
Yeah, it's
or
a game.
I'll say, it smells like, okay, what does it smell like? Does it smell like, and they'll be like, peppermint. I'm like, okay, let's turn it around. Like, okay, do you see, like, pepper? Oh, good. Okay, so this is from peppermint and not from fragrance. We want to see the word for which it smells. You know, like little things. Like, and I'll say if there's an ingredient list for a food, that usually means that man started messing around with it and making it. We can still find some healthy things, but the best thing is to buy food without any ingredient list. Like, what does a pear have in it?
Just a pear.
That's it. You know, so make it fun. And I've been doing that since they were little. And so they'll say things like, Mommy, I went to my friend's house and they don't eat like we eat. I'm like, that's okay. I was like, that's okay. And I was like, we don't need to talk to them about it. If they're open and we want to, you know, if they start asking questions, then we can be really kind and we can share what we do. I was like, well, we let people do what they do. You know, stuff like that.
And I think that's so helpful because it's just, there is such a bad rep right now. I mean, in general, there's just like a bad rep where moms are pitted so heavily against each other because there's like the one end of the spectrum where, you know, super clean, making different kinds of choices, and then you have the other end of the spectrum that makes like, you know, they're like making totally different choices. And when they try to both give each other unsolicited information, it is very hard for moms, as I'm recognizing and learning, to respect each other, even though they don't parent the same.
Yep.
And so it can be so difficult, but it's also, it starts from when what you're taught when you're young, and like you're teaching your kids, like this is how we do things. It's okay that someone else does something differently. If they ask, like you can tell them, but like also don't be pushy about it. And I love that transparency with Branch Basics too, because it doesn't feel pushy. Like it doesn't feel like that at all.
We try very hard to stay positive. Our message, Marilee has said this from the beginning, we will always give a positive message. We never want people to feel overwhelmed. We rarely get that from people. We want to talk about the toxins in our, water or pots and pans or our emotions. Like we will meet you where you are, wherever kind of that next step feels exciting and doable, and then sit there for a minute. And we are ready to toss the toxins in another area of your life. If it's your lip gloss or your shampoo, like we're here to talk.
Yeah. So then we are like entering what is traditionally known as the 6th season. The sun is going away. It is becoming cold. A lot of time is spent indoors. The kids are back at school. Everyone is touching everything. But what are some of those small daily habits that you put in place for your family, especially with this season considered, that are low toxin, but then also help you to maintain a healthy, calm household without overcomplicating things?
Right. Okay, number one, I know it can get colder where you guys are. We're in Texas, but opening up your windows for a few minutes a day is so helpful. If there's any way to do that and get cross ventilation in the house, like getting that stale recirculated air out. I mean, we are what we breathe. It really is true. I mean, we are what we eat. We are what we put on. But we're really, 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 we are. The health of our homes, like, is reflected in our own health. So that's huge. I think taking our shoes off and just making sure that we're just lowering that kind of chemical soup that comes inside the home with its pesticides and, the gas station stuff, like whatever it may be, not overwashing our kids' hands and not disinfecting and sanitizing our home. Because here's the deal with that. We start bringing in all these toxic cleaners and really, intense, let's kill all the germs and bugs. We are also killing the good bacteria. And so our poor guts are being decimated, and we don't give them a chance to build up those healthy microbes and the microbiome health that's needed to stave off the germs and illnesses that we're introduced to at school or at work or at the grocery store or whatever it may be. So we want to keep that intact. The way we do that is by not disinfecting and sanitizing. It's by removal, not killing. Okay. So that means washing your hands at the sink with a soap, removing the germs by the act of washing your hands. Even the CDC says that is way more effective than using a sanitizer and killing 99% of the bugs. Because what percent is left over? 1%. And what is that 1%? The worst and the strongest of the bugs. It will then populate and create superbugs, and then we wonder why our kids aren't responding to antibiotics. So disinfecting, honestly, you don't need to do it. I mean, if there is a crazy case of MRSA or something going through your home, like, let's talk. If your kid is just like sprayed a bottle of, raw chicken juice, even still, like, you would be shocked at when we really delve into the studies and looking at households that disinfect more often than others, they actually have a higher rate of sickness. And then fourth, getting sunlight on your eyes whenever possible, because there is an epidemic of low vitamin D, and that I think is really keeping us in this sick cycle. So even if it's cold outside, if that sun is peeping out, even just for a few minutes, getting your family outside and getting your eyelids in the sun, on your scalp, like getting that vitamin D, because there really isn't a better way to get vitamin D than from the sun. So I think those are kind of the main things.
I think what's so important to highlight about that is the fact that those are all simple things.
They're basically free. Everything I just said is basically free.
It's free and it's simple, because there's like so much pressure on moms to do it all. And when we are thinking about going outside of our everyday like autopilot actions, it immediately, at least for me, I'm like, oh my God, I start to panic a little bit. But those are all super easy things that you can do, that you can easily balance and implement without having to like you're not throwing everything out in terms of things, but like throwing everything out in terms of like your usual daily like actions and schedule. Like it's not hard to open up a window while you're cooking for a few minutes. It's not hard to stand outside and take a few deep breaths or take a walk with the kids.
I think the hardest of everything I just named is getting your kids to a sink and cleaning their hands, because it's a lot easier to throw a sanitizer in the back seat to my kids or being at a restaurant and not going into the restroom. But I will say that's a huge deal because I think our kids have there is also the epidemic of like gut dysbiosis, which is basically an imbalance of good to bad bacteria. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that has to do with the disinfectants that we are inhaling, ingesting, because they're going to end up on our food or on our plates or wherever it is and absorbing through our skin.
That's probably the hardest one, but yet also the simplest. Yeah. I feel like it's harder when you have super littles, right? Like,
yes,
John is like a year and a half. You have a 1-year-old, like bringing them to the bathroom and like making sure they're not like playing in the toilet water.
It is, for sure. And what I do, honestly, Antonia, at that point, like with my 1-year-old, I will just wet a cloth and just wipe his hands like with water and just wait till I get home. Because to me, like I'd rather him get a little bit of dirt and germs and stuff in his mouth because in the end, like we have a lot of stomach acid and our bodies know how to stave that stuff off than to kill all of this good bacteria on his hands. And that, just like I said, the absorption rate is so high. So those disinfectants really are kind of, especially for like that thin skin stage of life. So yeah, I'm belaboring this, but I think this is something that needs to be talked about more going into 6th season.
100%. I mean, it's so easy to, especially with social media, because there's all these people posting right now about everything you need to stock up on in your medicine cabinet to prepare for 6th season. And it's like, I don't want to drop, first of all, like $200 on all that stuff. But secondly, I'm like, maybe like we don't need to like panic right away.
Exactly.
It can be very simple when you get down to it, like you said.
Exactly.
Now, moving back to Branch Basics and the products that you guys have. You have the different kits and you have the glass bottle choice and the plastic bottle choice, which I really love. But what I thought was also cool when I'm still using them, but when I first got them was the different dilutions depending on what you wanted them for. Because I know that like a lot of people might invest in it, but then they don't think it can replace everything that it actually replaces.
Yeah.
So why don't you walk me through or share some of your go-to Branch Basic hacks or favorite unexpected uses of your product?
No, I love that. You know, I think even just to start that answer, now that I've been on the other side of it in terms of I've been on the kind of the formulation and chemistry side, not the one doing it, not to be confused over here, but I've seen behind the curtains. And our oven cleaner, our toilet bowl cleaner, our dish cleaner, our laundry detergent, they're not all that different. And I think we've been fooled. And it just nods to this idea of the fact that people just used to use Castile soap for everything. Just like a plain old multi-purpose, like Dr. Bronner's was onto something, you know, and he even copied whatever people were doing, soap and lye from thousands of years ago. And it really does work. And again, CDC is echoing this. During COVID, they said the best way to tackle germs and bacteria are not by disinfecting, but by removing using soap or a mild surfactant. That alone is going to tell you everything. So we are a mild surfactant. So what a surfactant's doing is essentially making water wetter. So it's increasing surface tension, and it's like a magnet for these, you know, particulates and germs and viruses, bacteria. Then you add a microfiber cloth to that, and that really is like the ultimate combination because it is, you're magnetizing, you're attracting all of those particulates instead of dusting. I do not like dusting. You're just moving the dust around. You really need to spray something and then remove. But it's the same with your laundry. Like you could use Branch Basics in your laundry, just like people used to use soap and lye to clean their clothes. And in your dishwasher, you know, we have dishwasher tabs. We have an entire system, but like it's so safe that I can clean my fruits and vegetables. I spray it on a dry, disposable baby wipe because I don't use wet wipes because they have preservatives in them and they make my babies break out. So I put Branch Basics and water on my baby's bottom. I use it to remove my eye makeup. I use it in my window washer fluid. I use it for my windows. I mean, there is nothing I don't use it for. It removes the toughest stains. And if you looked at what I'm spending, obviously I get my own product for free, but a home that is using a soap, a multi-purpose system, a concentrate system is spending less per year than a family that is going the conventional route and buying a different cleaner for every single need.
Yeah. And it simplifies in this world where there's so
much.
Everything. Yeah. It streamlines. I mean, you don't need something for everything.
Yeah. I had an organization team reach out to me because they wanted to try to work with us, and I'm so excited of the potential of doing something. And they said, okay, and in the laundry room, and they gave me kind of like this because we're about to move. They gave me this, write up, like quote for the laundry room. And I was like, I don't even know what you would do in there. I mean, there's just a concentrate and then like some powder. And they started laughing. They're like, yeah, you'd be shocked though. You go into people's laundry rooms, and that's a lot of times where people store all their cleaners. Mm-hmm. They say sometimes there's up to 50 to 75 cleaners in someone's laundry room. And I really it's hard for me to wrap my head around it because I'm like, I have nothing. My laundry cabinets are literally empty. Like there's just a bottle of Brave Face. Like people make this so complicated.
Yeah, I definitely have to get on that wave. I need to, once this edition is done and things are easier to organize, I really need to declutter. And that includes my cleaning closet, which is not something that you're often thinking about.
Yeah.
And other people probably feel this too, but I have this weird need to be prepared in case I run out of something before I know I'm going to run out of it.
Yeah.
But it's true. You're decluttering your life, but it also makes you feel better mentally, which kind of goes back to the simple tasks, easy things. You don't have to spend a ton of money to be healthier mentally, to be healthier physically. You can make very simple changes that will make a huge difference.
Yeah. Amen.
So then just to kind of wrap it all up, what would be a very realistic way for a listener to transition their home without wasting what they already have? Because I know that's something that a lot of people, including myself, can feel bad about. What would that path look like for them moving forward?
Yeah, this is a tough question, and I think you just have to kind of, again, meet people where they are. I have the kind of personality that once I am educated and I understand that an ingredient that I'm using around my kids is actually driving one of their symptoms or one of my symptoms, it's a hard buy for me. I'm just okay, once I know. This is not judgmental at all. That's just my personality. I have a hard time using it. It gives me more anxiety to use it than to use it up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But you have those people who are okay, I know that I can do better, but there's no way that I can throw this away or whatever. I'm like, would you consider giving it away? Mm-hmm. I would feel kind of bad about that, but I'm like, I don't know. And then the other thing I say to people is, okay, don't give it away. Don't throw it away. Don't do anything. Get a Sterilite container, get a big plastic Tupperware or whatever container from Target or Walmart or Amazon. Put all of these things that you now know are not serving your family and take in the garage for 10 days. Just 10 days, okay? You're not even thinking about throwing it out yet. You're like, there's this crazy woman I heard on the podcast who told me to do this, okay? I'm going to use it on day 11. I will use all of them again, okay? And just see how you feel. Because my bet is that when you bring them back in, you're not going to believe how strong they are. Because your body during those 10 days, if you really remove everything from the house, has started to reach homeostasis. Mm-hmm. So our bodies are constantly trying to seek health and balance. So as soon as they're not exposed to these toxic, strong chemicals, they're going to start dumping those chemicals, okay? Through our sweat, through our bowels, through our urine mainly, and through our sweat. Sorry, no, I already said that. Bowels, sweat, carbon dioxide, breathing out, okay? Mm-hmm. So our bodies are going to start releasing those things. It's like smokers who stop smoking and then they get around a smoker and they're like, how did I do that for so many years? Yeah. So we call it the 10-day challenge. And you really have to be careful during this 10 days because you're going to throw off the experiment. If you go inside, your parents' home or you're staying in a hotel with fragrances, really stop using this stuff. And then it'll be easier to really understand what it's been doing to your body. It could be that something itches more. You're starting to get a headache when you bring it back in. Now I go into Home Depot or a paint store, I get a headache. And I like that headache because my body is telling me, hey, this isn't a great place for you to be in. So when you can, try to leave. Mm-hmm. But years ago, before I started this lifestyle, I could smell paint fumes and it would never bother me. And I'm like, what are these crazy people saying this affects you? It's affecting you. It just means that you're so maladapted that your body has compensated in so many ways and we basically maladapt to the things that are around us. But when we remove these things, our body gives us these warning signals, these signs that say, hey, it's a red flag. A headache is a red flag. An itch, an allergy, things like that. Maybe we'll start saying, wait, that wasn't allergies? Or maybe, hey, wait, do I not really have asthma? How many people say to us after they do this 10-day experiment, I didn't have to use my inhaler. It was crazy. I thought I had asthma. Really? What if it was all these things I had in my house? Every time they would go up the stairs, they would feel like they had to wheeze, or their husband was on a run and he's wearing his clothes with dryer sheets or whatever, and he's using them, and he's like, I'm running faster. I'm not having to take breaks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So these chemicals are affecting each of us in different ways, but we don't know how they're affecting us until they're removed.
I cannot wait to hear about all the people who are going to be trying this 10-day challenge.
Yes.
I am going to probably do it very soon because I did it before when we last spoke, and it's true. I'm here to attest, you guys. It is true. I now taste when someone uses heavy dishwasher soap on my dishes. I can taste it. I can smell the different laundry detergents when I get hand-me-downs. It is actually...
It's wild.
It's wild. It's wild. So I can't wait to see or hear everyone who tries this and like what their thoughts are. I'd love for everyone listening to return back to this episode and let us know what your thoughts are in the comments, because I'm very interested to see everyone's reactions, because it really is like, it's magical almost.
It really is. It's amazing.
But thank you so much for coming on today.
Yes.
I loved catching up with you and talking all things cleaning and motherhood. The last time we talked, we were both pregnant, and you were already a mom, but I was not a mom just yet, at least in the outer world. But it's been great to really dive a little bit deeper on this topic. I love the reminders that clean living doesn't have to be complicated, and that we can really make smaller intentional swaps and movements to really make a difference. If you want to learn more about Branch Basics or try their products for yourself, I'm going to link everything in the show notes, but you can also find them at branchbasics.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please take a second to rate, review, or share it with another mom who's trying to make her home and her life just a little bit cleaner and calmer. I know Allison and I will be cheering for you along the way.
Yes, we're here for you. Tons of free, amazing, simple step information on our website. And Kelly and I are in charge of our social media. We're always on Instagram and sharing our everyday life. So come check us out.
Thank you so much for listening to the Working Moms Playbook. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with another mama who could use a little extra support, or a reminder that she's not alone. And if you loved today's conversation, it would mean the world if you took a second to follow, rate, and share the podcast on social media. Every share truly helps creators like me grow this community and reach more incredible moms just like you. Until next time, remember, you're doing better than you think, and your village is right here.